Summon. What if it's just gonna be another PvP? Fortunately, I'm not quite tired of PvP as much as I'm making fun of it. It's just something that is very noticeable with how many we've done. I do still actually like the matchup, though. As a viewer, I don't have to be as frustrated as the players do. I just hope for good games, and if that means that they're both guessing, they're playing Go Fish, and it's not that deep, and it's mostly kind of stupid. I don't get to see that. I get to hype up the fact that someone's about to say Go Fish, or someone's about to ask for the right card, and then they're not gonna have to go fish. They're gonna continue winning. I get to hype that up, man. For a second there, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot how you played Go Fish, because I haven't played it since I was in elementary school. Some of those games are fun, you know, like the brain dead games, basically. So me and my friends tried to play Candyland. This is with Fear Dragon, by the way. And Fear Dragon actually got mad. He got mad that the game is literally rolling dice. And that was it. So be careful who you play simplistic games with. Thank you, Up a Tree Zelda. Thanks, Jason. I'm just kidding. Thanks for the raid. Someone backstabbed me and showed you the clip they shouldn't have showed you. Blame my chat for that one. Alright, let's do the introductions. In the top right... Oh, this is awkward. Oh, wait. Hold on. Not gonna happen. In the top right is the red Protoss. It is Skillous. And in the bottom left, as the blue Protoss, it is GungFuBanda. Both on Team Cascade, actually. I don't know if that means a whole lot. Sometimes they're just logos you put on. More than there's team efforts and, you know, all that, so. But as fellow Protosses of the European ladder, I'm pretty sure they talk to each other at the very least. Can you mind game in PvP if it's already a mind game matchup? You're mind gaming the matchup, can there be any more mind games on top of that if you know each other? And if there are, do they balance each other out and it's a matchup that makes sense? Questions. It's my chess ELO rating. Chess is for nerds and dummies. Disregard the fact that I was in chess club. It's for nerds and dummies. Probe goes down. GungFu was so close to seeing this proxy robo. It's actually kind of insane. I thought he was just going to scout a pylon that was going to freak him out, and he'd make sure to keep tabs on it later. Which still would have been really nice, because obviously it ended up being a robo. But I thought that was kind of going to be it. He could have actually scouted a proxy robo. Proxy's a strong word, I know, but still. It's yeah. It is closer, and it is aggressive. Skillous, I'm actually shocked. Well, shouldn't he be getting a third gateway soon? Or does that not happen if you proxy the robo? It's also... Okay, open up before Stalkers, then Stalker Sentry. Lucid Phoenix finally available for GungFu, who did open in a more typical way. But is going to miss the robo and not see a third gateway, but it is going to see a certain lack of anything. No robo, no natural. And this has got to be a little unsettling. See that sentry running across the map, that ain't good. He's building a shield battery, but is it too late? The Immortal is already here, and I guess you don't build another gateway with this. War Prism's also being cranked out, but not here quite yet. The early advantage does go to Skillous, but 2 more War Prisms happen here for GungFu as he realizes what is going on here. But actually, he's going to go ahead and say it's too late. Can't do anything about it. I have no Robo done. No Immortal's going to be on the way. This is really, really, really fast. He does pop the shield of the Immortal, but yeah, he's going to cancel that Nexus and get shield battery in the main base. Chrono at his own Robo. And maybe go into Robotics Bay. No, it's Skillous, funnily enough, who does that first. But yeah, they both are going to go into Robotics Bay. Silly. PvP is so silly. Is so silly. Oh, he sucks. He's going to lose that production in the front. So you're going to have to replace those gateways. Nexus... Oh, I thought that was production. Oh, my bad. Nexus still not on the way for Skillous. I'm building those 2 gateways here. 3 gateways, in fact. That's what I thought you could support on one base, is 3 gateways and a robo. Has anyone scouted the robotics bay of their opponents? No. No, they haven't. They both don't know they're going to disruptors. It is a very expected move, though, I guess, in like both of these situations, especially if GungFu knew Skillous wasn't trying to like expand and whatnot. But for GungFu, who was contained and early on acknowledged, I guess, in being contained, this, I feel like, is a very expected move. And, well, okay, the Adepts just saw it. That disruptor shot's not going to find anything. The Adepts, yeah, maybe tempting to shade in there, but not a good idea. But the disruptor is still alive. And it will eventually push back this army. Eventually, we're going to have Skillous move away. A single Colossus is coming out here, possibly just to break the force field. It's something, right? It's going to take a lot longer to get to the Archons. I think we actually saw a single Colossus in a Need game yesterday, and I just totally forgot that that would be a reason to get Colossus. I don't remember if it was the reason or not, but...
Thank you for becoming a member.
Yeah, it does break force fields. Somehow, Protoss got 2 units to break force fields, and Terran got 1 that we'd never make versus Protoss. Just throwing it out there. The true imbalance has to be talked about. Thank you, DeGaulle, for the tier 1 sub. I thought you were dead. Gasp. Chess is good for development. Yeah, so is Starcraft Brood War, but one's much cooler than the other. War Prism speed's on the way, with the Disruptor wars have started. Disruptor wars. Disruptor wars. Disruptor. It's gonna be hard to say Disruptors a lot. You know, you got into it, you got used to it back when it was Disruptor versus Disruptor all the time, so you really got into the groove, but now it doesn't happen as often. This will be the second one that we might see today. Might see, I say, because the other one didn't really end with it. It was a weird who's going to do what thing, and then this game also is not necessarily going to be all about that. GungFu did get a Stargate upon seeing his opponent's Disruptor, or maybe a little bit before that, maybe. And Skillous has not seen that reaction. Observer's going to get sniped as well. Maybe the War Prism? The War Prism might. At the very least, it's going to get the Phoenix to try and chase after it, and we'll see if Skillous has a recall to save the Warp Prism or not. 3 Disruptors to 1, and, well, 1 Colossus as well. GungFu's Nexus way later. So definitely not as ideal of mining. We say Phoenix is going to be deterred, but it scouts where the army is, so the War Prism swoops on in, but I actually think this is not good for Skillous because he's going to make a bunch of probes. He's actually going to be able to see what's going on here, and the recall is, in fact, instant, so not going to lose, really, anything. Immortals still have all their shields, all their life, and... Whoa, 4 shield batteries. I saw them in the production tab and thought he would cancel at least a few of them, seeing as the army was still back at home, but no. He is taking GungFu's potential counter very, very seriously. But GungFu didn't actually do that. They both now are getting Warp Prism speed, and GungFu is going back into more Disruptor production. Skillous has to really judge of whether he should try and continue doing that, or get his own Phoenix, or what. But constant scouting is important because you do want to know, like, what is my opponent doing? Phoenix, so I definitely don't go Disruptors. No Phoenix because they're building Disruptors, so I should go Phoenix. Like, Skillous so far is just dedicating to the typical PvP composition. Charge Lot Archon, which grows in numbers, so maybe the Disruptors won't get such good hits because they'll be concaved on, but if that doesn't happen, it is a little worrying. 2 Disruptors versus 3 now as GungFu heads out to do a little pokey poke. He finds his opponent's Robo, which is actually really awkward. That Robo is still an important structure. It never isn't an important structure in PvP. +1 on the way for GungFu. Skillous, never gonna forge. If it was truly Disruptors, then it's always like, well, Disruptors don't need upgrades, but... As we head more so into a typical composition for both parties, upgrades will be important. And you still would get upgrades for your They're Stalkers, back when it was Stalker Disruptor. Mirroring each other.
Captain, we are being hosted.
GungFu going for the +1, and then also Resident Enclaves. Well, this is timing out a lot better than the last series we saw, where it was a little bit awkward from Geralt. So he might actually be able to hit exactly with both of these upgrades, plus a couple of Archons. Wait. He does have both gases in the natural. He is going to go in his own Archons, and he's still getting Resident Enclaves? Really? Resident Enclaves almost always just assigned to the 2 base all-in that we know. But not in this case. Disruptor's going for some harassment, too. Definitely safer for GungFu to do this, because he was the one that went for a Stargate, not his opponent. So he can try and can do this as long as he wants. But he will have to bring it back eventually, because Skillous is moving out. He's got no upgrades, but he does have a superior army count. It's gonna get spicy. Thank you very much, Golden, for that host. Thank you. Golden was the first player I ever interviewed back at Red Bull New York. Hashtag Starcraft 2 history. Still 2 disruptors versus 3. Right? Yeah. They didn't get to target each other's. They're trying. Oh, and there you go. He went bowling, found 1. 2-2 now. GungFu is on that +1. He actually kind of boldly starts that +2. That Nexus looks like it's going to be canceled no matter what happens here. And yeah, also just retreating because that concave of Skillous looking mighty fine. The armor supply has gotten a lot closer, but we are talking about different types of attacks. This is so weird. We're talking about Adepts versus Zealots for that buffer. The Adepts, I actually would dare say, they're going to clump up more, right? They shade, so they have that mobility and that ability to, like, mess up all the... get surrounds and stuff on the, you know, disruptors and stalkers and all that. But you usually don't want to against Archon, so But then the Zealots are speedy. They're speedy boys. They got charge. They're going to be able to... instinctively, literally the AI will for you kind of spread them out maybe a little if they're not going up like a choke or something like that. So I feel like I like Skillous' army better for one other reason too, and that's that charge lots are finding that balance that you get with Archon charge lot, which is one gets all the gas, the other one gets all the minerals. Adepts actually cost a bit more both. Well, you're also still trying to get Archons, because usually Archon numbers are like a really big factor as to who wins the PvP battles. That and concaves, which Eternal Empire is not giving enough of an opportunity for GungFu to actually... Sorry, for Skillous to actually move in and win here. Well, hold on here. He's actually going to go for a full huge surround. Hussein Phoenix is going to thread the needle, unfortunately, and not see the South army prepared to go. GungFu has no idea about this. He just got another disruptor. Will that be enough? Now he sees the army incoming. That one single disruptor shot doesn't really get very much. Decent split there from Skillous, and the Archon's not quite fat enough to die. Nexus is going to have to... Well, it's not canceled, so it's going to have to die. Ooh, that disruptor shot was pretty good. That one was good. But unfortunately, Skillous does have a fully saturated third base, or almost fully saturated. A little less now that Adept shade in. Nicely done. They got Resident Glaze after all. Very effective harassment units, that's for sure. Disruptor of his opponent will not find GungFu's. Disruptor, you be careful about how he controls this. They do tend to derp right in front of your army. Just kill themselves. Thank you very much. Oh, the big explosion on the backside of Skillous' army is actually humongous. Skillous down 30 army supply, trying to force this issue. Also losing 16 probes back at home. Finally gets his own decent disruptor shot. But that very scary army has actually been depleted significantly. And you know what else? GungFu has had a +2 advantage, I think, for the past 1.5 fights. Skillous had a decent army. He had a good economic position, and he overstayed his welcome. He tried to win the game, when apparently he really couldn't. On top of not being able to actually defeat his opponent's army, he also lost all the economic lead that he had after denying and killing the third base multiple times. I think it is just, it's tap out time. This is not going to be enough here for Skillous. And that surprise, that turned, man, that turned. GungFu holding the fort down, taking the better engagements, getting the better upgrades, far better upgrades, and taking game number 1. Is this still the Berserker tournament? I have no idea what the Berserker tournament is. I've never cast a tournament called the Berserker tournament, so I don't know what you're talking about. Disruptors, getting good shots. Disruptors, doing the thing. Looks like Neeb beat Kellizer and is facing Bly. Game number 2, finally here. In the top right, down 1, he is Skillous. And in the bottom left, as the blue Protoss, it is GungFuBanda, popping up on Everdream. Seen a lot of proxy robos on this map, as well as some Blink Stalker shenanigans, because the map does lend itself to it. Map makers have gotten pretty good about not making maps like obnoxious against certain cheeses, but still strengthening certain builds and strategies. Yeah. So, not a whole lot of Reaper hop-ups. Only 2 racks is going to be that impressive. Blink isn't... the real problem with Blink is how many jump-up spots there were for Blink, of which there are quite a few here. But even the ones that are here are a bit more complicated because they're up against the minerals, and, you know, this is dead space back here and all that. It was when you were, like, enough room to maneuver the stalkers up there and keep them harassing. That is when Blink Stalkers are really obnoxious, because it's more so over here they jump in and you can kind of predict that a bit more. It's not as bad, but it is still something that can be strong. So I've seen a couple of Blink builds on here, from Mana especially. He had one, a pretty impressive one against Neeb, I'm pretty sure. Blink threatens, Blink. He did Blink and then threatened Blink, and then he did Blink, and then he threatened Blink, and then he went into Disruptors and killed Neeb straight up. It's pretty brutal. I don't know what it is, so I'm sorry, I can't tell you. One person putting that pylon on the map and not using it, the other one definitely using it. GungFu going for a proxy gateway, so straight up 3 gateways. Forget about that robo crap. Skillous is going to start his lifelong search of finding the pylon immediately. It's never going to happen, man, but he's going to try. Maybe eventually. He's checking a couple of the common places for it, but I'd say this is more common if the positions were reversed. So hopefully he checks the mirrored side of things. There you go. He does check the mirrored side. Maps are mirrored. and finds a gateway, which is really nice information, clearly stating, hey, I'm going to attack you, but also specifically with a gateway, not a robo, no immortal, no warp prism, but I will have, nonetheless, some fast proxy warp ins. Really nice scout there from Skillous. Was he setting up for anything in particular? Well, yeah, he was actually. So, going for, what was it, 2 Stalkers, Sentry Stalker opener? Not what I want to focus on. Yeah, what I want to focus on is the Twilight Council. So the Twilight Council, that option gives you actually no early game defense. So it's a little bit awkward when they have an extra gateway, when they have a robo to your Twilight Council, which is producing nothing. In this circumstance, though, it's probably the best thing you could ever get. Continuing to invest into it as well, no panic cancel into a robo, seeing as to what it was he was up against. GungFu even taking his sweet time getting over here because he's actually no longer really investing into it. He's going for his own Nexus. He is also going for a robo, though, so it's like, okay, all right. If GungFu had done anything else, like his own Twilight Council, which, I mean, thinking on it, why would you ever do that? The robo does seem like the logical follow-up when you don't do your gateway-based attack. But if it wasn't a robo, this would still potentially be very good for Skillous. With the robo, this is no longer that great. So we'll see if he gets an observer first, as that will be a pretty important detail. That gateway's finishing. DTs are going to be warping in like 10 seconds here. And if an immortal's on the way first, it could be bad news. There's only one pylon powering this robo. I don't think that one's in range. Could be wrong about that. I don't think it is. We'll see. We'll see, guys. We'll see. Gateway's going down for GungFu. Thrown back to what looks like a typical opener, actually. An immortal first. But the wall. Ooh, is this showtime? Thought this was GungFuBanda, man. He's making a wall against the potential of DTs. Maybe intentionally, maybe unintentionally. He finally moves aside. Did he not realize there was a DT there? The observer was stacked up, but I guess he thought he could get away with it. A couple probes go down, but not GungFu's, actually. The Adepts found a couple of probes on the rally, and the DT is just going to go ahead and get recalled. It was only one DT, so very unlikely it was going to kill the pylon in time. But it also was really nice of that block from GungFu. Slapping down Skillous's one base attack. And while his also got stopped because it just didn't happen, that's different from being slapped down. He went to go punch someone, decided, you know what, man, I'm cool, I'm good. Just gonna walk it off. You go back home. The other guy is like, oh shit. But to get your DT, your one base DT, actually slapped down, you went to go punch the guy, and then he slapped you, and you went crying home to your mama. That's exaggerating a little bit. The game will continue on, but still, Skillous was hoping for more there. It'll give him access to Archons and further DT harassment, which is always annoying. Always has strong potential for doing damage, but oh, Blink isn't done! Oh, Blink isn't done! Oh, Skillous. Well, that actually might be game then. It was already hard because he had no immortals. His gate was going to get taken down. His DTs weren't doing anything. He lost probes as opposed to his opponent losing probes. And then on top of that, he gets his army cornered by force fields seconds before Blink is done. He got slapped again, man. He got slapped. Double hallucination isn't going to scout anything important enough to give Skillous the upper hand. Skillous has to still try and do what he was going to do, which is control the game, control the natural here of GungFu while he takes a faster third. He does manage to slip in a couple of Adepts, surprisingly, into the main base. There's a shield battery, but if you're timing them up correctly, they will one-shot the probes. A little incorrectly there. So only gets 2 probes. Not such a big deal, but Skillous is trying, man. Got that Blink, going directly into charge. Unable, really, to take any pit stop at a forge. He's going to find himself down upgrades again. He is going to be up in workers, though. GungFu losing a couple here and there, and then also not getting his gases immediately meant that he was fully saturated mineral-wise for quite some time. Now, fully, literally saturated everywhere on 2 bases. He doesn't need many more probes because he doesn't have a third on the way. So Skillous is trying to get this economic boost in time so that whenever GungFu does push into him, he's already reaped the rewards from it, and he's built an amazingly large Zealot army. That's what he's going for, a huge Zealot army. And that might work. Zealots, you know, they struggle against those Archons. Archon charge lot, pretty good together, right? But we don't have Archons in GungFu's army. And he's not going to Templar Archives. He's actually getting Blink of his own, despite not having that many Stalkers. Like, well, actually, that's a decent number. But he's getting Blink. He's getting a Dark Shrine. I don't believe that's going to be for Archons, although it could be. And he is going to try and attack Skillous, who knows he's on his way to attack, is desperately morphing in more Archons, warping in more Zealots, and trying to get some shield batteries here. If GungFu were to actually attack into that, I don't think it would look that pretty. It'd also be before his +1's done, so it'd be a bit of an anti-timing. Skillous has gotten away with the third base, and now GungFu's the one who's in a bit of a complicated scenario. He knows how well saturated that base was. He got the Scout with the Observer, it looks like here. Another Observer. Oh, Hallucination in the main, which Skillous doesn't even see, so it's a bit of a waste. Funnily enough. Now it shows itself, but... Ooh, forces a recall. Of only the Stalkers. A very mature recall right there. Unnecessary, as he realizes that. But a very mature recall. Resident Glaives now on the way. And a third base, but that is so far behind. I mean, Skillous didn't just get a third base and then cower behind 44 probes thinking, oh god, he's gonna kill me. He actually probed up his third base. This economy has been booming for Skillous for a while now. I really thought the Stalker, the DT's failing, the Stalker's dying. GungFu, maybe if he had pushed right then and there, would have actually been able to win. But the information wasn't all there for GungFu. I think his Observer hadn't seen the third Nexus yet. And he was possibly waiting for even further attacks, maybe even afraid of a Disruptor swap, as we have seen a lot of those in desperate scenarios in PvP. But the point is, by the time he was ready to move out, Skillous was already prepared. Skillous had done the thing, almost like a Zerg thing, you know, where you get all those drones pumped out in the nick of time and then make a whole lot of units. And now Skillous is on a very powerful army. Charge out Archon. He's missing the Immortals, which I'm glad he's mixing in, but there is a bit of a conversation to be had about how important they are when you're talking about just sheer numbers and how ineffective Immortals are against Zealots in particular. It's when you get to the later stages of PvP that, you know, a line of Zealots and then a line of Archons and a line of Immortals in that order. 3-layer dip, man. That's when the Immortals really start to look flippin' awesome. More Archons for both players, as GungFu has also added in his High Templars. A couple of probes going down to a single DT. They both have DT access, but not really a whole lot of economic damage so far for either one. Looks like the Stalkers went in a little over their heads. They're going to get 1 loss, maybe 2, maybe 3. 3 lost there. Not too shabby. Warpism, that's a real one, comes in, and Skillous takes it just as seriously as the fake one. Cannon provided is going to be really nice. Stalker's also immediately responding with Blink. You're going to be able to grab the Warp Prism, and he can now continue his attack if he so desires. GungFu does have that upgrade lead, and we're kind of back to a typical PvP scenario. Similar compositions, even though GungFu has Resident Glaives and no charge. So not really too similar, but anyways. Not Disruptors is what I was mostly talking about. Not Disruptors, so upgrade leads are really, really important. We saw that last game, actually, despite the presence of a couple Disruptors. GungFu had a better Disruptor shot, but he also had +2, which was really good. That DT doing a considerable amount of damage. 10 probes lost is decent for 1 DT for sure, but it's certainly not game-ending. Skillous is still looking to go for an attack. He knows he's down an upgrade, but he's hoping that the sheer size of his army is going to do it here. He is up about 20 army supply. He's attacking into defender's advantage, though, and this is actually another situation where I think the Immortal count's really nice. Already, the charge out's a little less effective, a lot less effective in a choke, because they're funneling into a bunch of Archon splash. Not so good. And then while they're chopping away at the Archons, which take a very long time to chop away, with just Zealots, by the way, the Immortals are free-firing, totally protected. So no matter how you slice that engagement, it wasn't going to go very well. The only way it would have gone well is Skillous baited GungFu into, you know, into the concave over here. And a back and forth and a ha gotcha move. So glad to see that he pulls back, but the armies have evened up. GungFu's going to take the opportunity to come out on the map and actually engage. It's a little bit dangerous to do, especially since he is about to lose his upgrade lead. It is very nice concave potential here for Skillous, where his army is especially good. Adepts have not yet shown us their power in terms of their shade capabilities in an army fight like this, which maybe could play a part. Posturing. 2 Archons in the main base, gonna be able to take out cannons, no problem. Actually, that shield battery out of range, too. So very awkward. And you know what? Skillous sees an opportunity. He's gonna warp in more. Warp in DTs specifically, so while the Archons will die to the defensive DTs of his opponent, the DTs of his own could do some serious damage. You're gonna go after that Forge. That's +3. And it's not too far in. A bit of a wasted chrono right there. And that will put Skillous ahead, because he did immediately start his +3s too. Sometimes you see an extended gap between +2 and +3 because a lot of the matches end around that +2 attack, but certainly if you have the flexibility, go for it. That is still going to be an upgrade lead. But more important perhaps than an upgrade lead, we have Skillous adding on even more complexity to his army. We got double disruptor production here for Skillous, and that's going to be a big surprise for GungFu, who definitely doesn't have an answer to it in terms of Phoenix, and it'll take him some time to get to that as well. And back to what I was talking about in the last game, that Adepts are just going to be able to clump a lot. Ooh, but the Disruptor, he's trying! Gets a pretty good shot. Archon, I think, got a little bit of splash as well. This second Disruptor could maybe find the Adepts again, but nope, not paying attention to it. He's trying to chase down the army over here. It is significantly smaller without those Adepts. The Adepts actually finished their shade, but in the middle of the army, totally unsupported. Oh my god! Well, that was a disaster. The Adepts didn't do so hot right there. The Archon took care of them, no problem whatsoever. GungFu trying to use their mobility to really screw up Skillous, was unable to get the Disruptors, was unable to get the better end of the actual main fights. He didn't pull Skillous so far out of position that he took the 3rd or 4th rather down, for example, and he didn't really get any probes either, despite having so many Adept shades into the natural. And now the Disruptor count continues to grow. Skillous confident enough to get a 5th base, is about 30 seconds away from having +3 weapons. Looks like maybe the Templar Archives went down, and I didn't notice it. He didn't notice it either until just now. Wait, did he ever have the Templar Archives? Actually, I take that back. He's been morphing just nothing but DT Archons. Oh, I just assumed he got one at some point. But the 4th base here from GungFu is probably going to be canceled with just a few units. Exactly what Skillous is thinking, but Skillous has to think very, very quickly. As a bit of a base trade has been initiated, GungFu just says, okay, go ahead, have it, I don't care, 1 Zealot. But more importantly, I got you to warp in like 10 Zealots to actually fully deny that, so that's not going to be helping you on the defensive. Is that going to be enough, though? Disruptor's looking awfully scary, and now GungFu has put his units in a place where they can hardly micro. The Archons of Skillous are getting really awkward here, but where are the Disruptor shots? Where are the Disruptor shots? There we finally go. He pays attention to his army once again. Gonna go after the Archons that are recalled as the Stalkers can try and blink out. They had that second escape path, and it's somewhat successful. DTs in the main base. We're also killing a couple of probes. Stalkers actually trying to take a pit stop at the 4th base to kill some probes or a cannon. That was a bit of a mistake there. Taking some shots from the Archons. Counter, blink, Stalkers, whatever, going into the main base. DTs are going to find the Templar Archives. That literally just finished. That's brand new. Thank you very much. And grab that. That's the DTs end up surviving despite being very unhealthy. They are going to tuck themselves on the mountain back there. The comically small mountain. Apparently a warp prism is gigantic on that. And Skillous, oh, it looks like his double robo was also torn down, but at least I think he recognized that pretty quickly. GungFu thinking about his own response to Disruptors. It's really difficult and probably pointless to try and go to his Phoenix. He's lost the majority of his army, and he also has to hope for a bit of the miracle comeback that Disruptors can provide. Phoenix, taking away their Disruptors, are not going to provide a comeback. Not when their base army, Disruptors aside, is still so much larger than yours. So get your own Disruptors and hope to God you get the better shots. Skillous, he has not seen the Disruptors yet. I don't... okay, well now he sees them. I didn't know if the brush was actually covering them or not, but now he knows, which is most important, so he actually saves his own Disruptor shots. Like, that's... Him leaving that there would have been scary if he thought his opponent was just, you know, pushing with Stalkers and only Stalkers. Some harassment on that 3rd base, which got awfully close to dying, but didn't actually die. Even if it would have, we're talking about 2 fresh bases for Skillous, and GungFu only just trying now to establish his own 4th. Which, looks like he'll be able to save. That's quite late. GungFu has bought some time, so he's gotten the supplies a little bit closer. It's looking a little bit better. Only a 40 supply difference instead of 70. Both have +3 as well. Here come the disruptors for GungFu, but they're all clumped up. It's actually really dangerous to do, but he's actually going to find the army of Archons on the front. The disruptors of Skillous in the back lines would not have been able to get too many great shots. Another disruptor shot here from GungFu as he continues to rally in disruptors. That is definitely a good start for him. That supply further getting closer and closer. GungFu, a couple more good disruptor shots, and he's back in this game for sure, even though he has basically no Archons, no Immortals, not even a Sentry for some Guardian Shield heal here, but disruptors are good. Disruptors will bring him back into the game. Adept warp-ins with the Resonating Glaives and equal upgrades take care of whatever harassment was over there. And this game is still kind of even. Skillous does have 5 bases to GungFu's 4, but disruptors make all things even, man. Until Phoenix come into play, and you have a decently sized army to your opponent, right? Like, as soon as that happens, we both have 160 supply-ish, but I have Phoenix and you don't, then that's when disruptors stop being the end-all be-all. But can anyone really truly afford to do that? Even Skillous, who has the superior economy, has to be very careful about trying to add that in, while also continuing to posture around the map and take decent engagements. Plus, the numbers of disruptors have gotten pretty high, and you need a few Phoenix to actually make that work. Splitting up his army like this could have been dangerous. The disruptors, oh my god, that was so close to hitting all of Skillous' disruptors. But Skillous kills the disruptor first. That's the trick. Disruptors of GungFu are going to the north. He wants to save that 4th base. He might lose a lot at his 3rd. I don't know if he'll actually lose his 3rd. He will, actually. GungFu not splitting his army to respond to this is just entirely chasing down the Archons. Will that truly be worth it, however? He might take a bit of an army lead with that maneuver, but he's going to lose a 3rd base. That it's still a lot of important mining going on. And I don't know how reliably this 4th base will actually stay standing, weak as it is, and only 2 cannons to protect it. Good move there by Skillous. Oh, it's dead. DTs. Ha! Lol. Yeah, no. DTs go in and snipe that. Absolutely worth 4 DTs there for Skillous, who again is on 5 bases. 76 probes. The army supplies right now are similar. There's an upgrade lead for Skillous, but disruptors do not care about that, so GungFu's got to press the go button. He's got to go. He's got to hope the disruptors get amazing hits. Skillous does have a lot of Blink Stalkers, so he should be able to run away from any oh crap scenarios. Okay, that was a dangerous thing to do. You blink forward against someone who has a bajillion disruptors. Guess what? They have a couple more shots. And the Stalkers can run away. The Zealots are even a bit better at running away now that they have speed on their charge instead of just the impact damage. Not something I really had to think about because disruptor wars they're the past, man. Not supposed to happen that much anymore. But throughout this game, the topsy-turviness of PvP, we have somehow just gotten to find ourselves back into 2015. Oh my god. Disruptors going down there. Multiple disruptors, including one sniped by the Blink Stalkers. GungFu taking the bad start to that engagement when he absolutely needed to take the better one. He was already up against the economy of his opponent, and then on top of that, he took the worst engagement he could. Good army movements from Skillous, of course. Really nicely done. Tries to sneak in some DTs, hoping the Observer wasn't there, but it was. What is even happening right now? Disruptors on disruptors on disruptors. GungFu barely holding on to his. He's gonna blink forward. Yeah. Those were just barely snipeable. Gets one of them. But that is still a dangerous thing to do. And oh my god, that one disruptor. Skillous not paying attention, but you know what? It doesn't matter. A bunch of Zealots finding the right side and convincing GungFu to finally tap out at about half the supply of his opponent, but disruptors, they make everything possible. Cool PvP. That ties it up. 1-1. Why are they not taking shield or armor upgrades? Generally for Protoss, we're talking more so about units that have either they're already durable in like the other matchups, they're already durable, so they're looking more for how fast they can kill their opponent. How many lings can you kill before the Stalker gets killed? Or in PvP, I think it more just has to do with how many types of army engagements you get. Specifically in Stalker versus Stalker, there's talking about more like who's focus firing better, who's taking advantage of the weapons better than having that one armor. Disruptors literally don't take advantage of either one. So if you can kill them a bit faster with your Blink Stalker micro, then that's better. Really, most of the time for Protoss, it's only +1 armor as a priority if you're talking about charge lots needing Marines, because they have to survive the Marine DPS long enough to actually get a connection with them. Otherwise, it's almost always weapons first for Protoss. I'm sure if you asked Reddit, they could provide a better, more comprehensive answer. Writing's always easier. Bingo guide, that's in the frequently asked questions video I made. You should watch it.
Warning. Philanthropist programs detected in comm servers.
Thank you, Anderscraft, for the gifted sub to Carewin LZ. Much appreciated. Game number 3. Whoever wins this moves on to face Namshar. Whoever loses can try again in NA Qualifier number 3, I think. But really running out of chances to make it into the main event, TSL5. In the top left of Nightshade, we have the blue Protoss GungFu. And in the bottom right is the red Protoss. It is Skillous. PvP can be so cool. Team disruptors in both games now, but last game really did go into like Blink Stalker disruptor after a couple of pit stops elsewhere. How did last game even begin? What even happened? What is time? First game was the proxy robo. Second game was, oh right, the gateway not being found out. Being found out. And then into macro, denying the DTs, killing like 4 stalkers when Blink wasn't done. Yeah, GungFu really had a good opportunity to win that game, but Skillous played that game also really correctly. I spent a decent amount of time talking about how Skillous was making the right calls. No, wait, hold on. How GungFu was making the right calls in a previous series. Hold on. Too many PvPs. You know what? I'll be vague. I spent some time talking about how losing Protoss was making all of the right choices, because decision making is very important. And I'll say it here for that last game, it's probably why Skillous was back into the game. As it were, he went for the fast third and actually saturated it. Didn't die before he had a ton of charge that Archon. Didn't make, I would say, unnecessary immortals while trying to do so because he was so scared of dying. He took a couple of risks that really worked out for him, and then played a very good game from then on. Just kind of missing GungFu's kind of base trade, but then even getting a bit of a benefit from it anyways, even though he missed it. And then finally being able to actually kill someone who was starting to get a little too comfortable on the disruptor count by splitting up his army like he did. It was nice decision making. We do have GungFu now going for a proxy Stargate, whereas Skillous will be going for just a regular Stargate. We've seen this happen. Good God. But last time it happened, the guy who was proxying a Stargate actually saw his opponent's Stargate, was able to go to Phoenix, and then, oh my God, so many PvPs. How do you keep track of them all? Did that happen? Was that this series? Was it last series? Point is, this time, no probe will scout the opponent, but okay, this time, the defender, the not proxy Stargater finds the proxied Stargate. So, this time, the guy who proxied is doing maybe a little bit worse. Well, yes, a lot worse, as the guy who didn't proxy, but scouted for the proxies, gets a Phoenix. That Oracle should be doing no damage. It does get a Stalker, and it is probably still capable of doing damage, just because you go ahead and... Whoopsie-daisy. You go ahead and bulk up 2 Oracles, and then try and just play it really risky, hide them somewhere, and then come in when you think the Phoenix are on the other side of the map or on the other side of your base or something like that. It can still happen, but it is definitely a risky way to play. Probably less risky would just be to stop using the Stargate entirely, which seems to be GungFu's choice here, and he goes into a Twilight Council, so I'm expecting Blink. I thought he had a second unit queued up. I was not crazy. So for Skillous, he actually might be worried about what I just described, and will keep his units at home. We'll keep his Phoenix at home, but it's not going to happen. GungFu might get this a revelation, I suppose, but that's probably all that's going to happen. There you are. There you are. Nice and safe in the main base. And Blink is on the way. Skillous, how many Phoenix did you go for? You went for 3 Phoenix. Not exactly some scenario where they are going Phoenix. You have to get Blink, but I've seen Blink really come back into PvP as just an option. You can go Blink. For what felt like 2 years, kind of after the Disruptor Blink stuff died down, and then up until recently, there was just no Blink openers that really existed, not even really any all-ins. Certainly existed, but they weren't really popular. And then it really felt like with Katowice they came back. The Katowice qualifiers, actually, just a ton of the Koreans were doing Blink openers, macro, all-in, 3-gate, sooner rather than later, and vice versa, but they're really bringing Blink back. It's cool again, guys. Honestly, I remember having a question that I would occasionally ask in PvPs as to why Blink even died out. So I'm glad to see that it's back. I think Blink is one of the coolest spells in Starcraft 2. I think there are people who abuse Blink more than others. It's got the high skill cap. It also just makes an otherwise kind of boring unit really fun. And I say this as a Terran who lived through the Blink Stalker phase. I can still like the upgrade. So when it went to just kind of like whatever the iterations of PvP that have existed in the past 3 years, there were so many of them, I was like a little bored. I like Blink being back. The Blink as a response to an actual Phoenix player has always been a thing. Actual Phoenix players also don't exist too. They aren't not too common, except for Roddy. But as I was saying, this is not... Yeah, it was lag. This is not a Phoenix player. This is a guy who went Phoenix at a Night Oracle and got a couple. Dark Shrine is on the way with a +1. GungFu will have an upgrade advantage and a potential to do a lot of damage.
Game resumed.
6 gateways on the way for Skillous, as well as a 3rd base. Do they both know they're going Blink? Twilight Council is not seen researching. Possibly because it just got scouted again. I think that's what happened. Blink's already done. I think he saw a number of Stalkers, though, and that's a pretty big hint. Let's assume they both know they're going for Stalkers at this point. Skillous still grabs the faster 3rd. It's already done, and GungFu is only just making his now. Skillous does not have +1, and he does not have a Dark Shrine. But a 3rd Nexus this much faster, that's pretty damn good. Oh, good response to save the Oracle there. GungFu even gets a revelation on his opponent. More Stalkers being warped in as he realizes there could be a bit of an attack on the way. Just be Blink Stalkers, we didn't see any Warp Prism. Which, hey, the Phoenix would be pretty good at denying. Trying to, anyways. Both of them still have pretty similar worker counts, but Skillous should be really capitalizing on it in a way that GungFu was not. Choo-choo! Hype train for the PvP. Adept is denied. GungFu gonna go for the Blink in to cancel the Robo. That almost loses 2 Stalkers. 1 Stalker went down. The chase continues. Nah. GungFu. Stop that. You can't just pretend to leave and come back. That's not fair. Charge is not done, so the Zealots look extra sad against the Stalkers. But they're just buying time. And that's important because where GungFu had no Warp Prism and no Proxy Pylon, but his units were in his opponent's face, Skillous actually has a Pylon and is in his opponent's face and is dedicating to his opponent's face, to punching his opponent's face. But defensive DTs, man, that's going to save the natural Nexus here because GungFu still hasn't recalled. He's actually going for a bit of a base trade. Some of the DT did sneak in across the map to help out these Stalkers, and Skillous to go ahead and pull the boys pulling the probes. That makes no sense, but it's happening. Archon trying to get involved is not going to get a single shot off. This 1DT is still doing damage. Where is the Observer? Where's the Observer? Well, we know where the Observer is. It's not here because the Robo was denied and then denied again. Skillous making his Robo up to third base. Might have just lost him this game. The main was also compromised. Everything has been depowered. Skillous, you don't have any detection. Where's that Robo even finishing? It's at the proxy pylon. Oh my gosh, it's like a drama right now. But DTs, GungFu's defensive DTs, have been killing so many units. GungFu still has the armor supply lead. He's going to have a 2 upgrade lead in like 5 seconds. There's no way that Skillous wins a straight up war, even if he does have a Robo. He did actually manage to pump out an Oracle as well, and it finally was able to cast that Revelation, but that was a very, very long time to do so. And this really is a straight up base raid. The Nexus goes down. Perhaps the Dark Shrine also should be targeted here to make sure there's no further complications. Even though he does have the Robo, he doesn't have supply, and the Oracle's out of juice. He takes the engagement. He has the better concave on the low ground here, but it doesn't really matter. It's just too many units and free damage from the DTs on top of his army. GungFu, DTs, man, DTs. Nicely done. You see that little maneuver where they try and intentionally snipe the Robo, and you're like, yeah, is it really? It's a, you know, it's a mid-game PvP. How is he not going to have a Robo? And it actually worked out really well.